You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the Metashow.
And we're live. Welcome everybody. It looks like I already need to adjust my webcam settings. That is fantastic. So we have an interesting show today. We've got several people joining us. We have Ragnar Bile, who used to be, of course, known for being part of the culture, and totally wasn't the leader of the culture. And we have Ziggs5 from the Sky team of Triumvirate joining us. Why don't you guys say hello? Ziggs, first of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who are you and all that good
Sure.
stuff?
So I am a member of the Sky Team FC group for Triumvirate. I handle a lot of the bigger ships when we take fights and things like that. I don't really handle much of the command side of things, but I do shoot big things with other big things.
What is the most interesting thing about being a super capital type FC when you're constantly fighting outnumbered and outgunned like you have been most recently?
It's just exhilarating for the most part, and also makes great stories. It's always cool to then see these videos come up and be able to watch in the past and be like, we did that. We fought upwards and took the good fights, and things come of that.
Okay. Ragnar, how about yourself? Who are you these days? What sort of hat are you wearing, Eve? Push to talk, Ragnar?
Yeah, sorry, Doc. I'm a PL bigwig these days.
A bigwig already. You're officially a bigwig.
Yeah, just like Dankel, and mostly doing Intosis at the moment in Providence, burning the region down, and that type of thing.
Living the dream.
The dream, indeed.
That's something that we probably want to talk about today, but I'm just sort of curious right out of the gates, which is how exciting is it to attack Providence again?
I mean, it's actually really exciting, mostly because of their reaction to it. They seem to think, this has happened before and they're going to weather it, but it hasn't really happened before. It happened once during AAA time, and there's 5 of those people around still. So it's good stuff.
Well, what exactly are you guys doing there? Is the PL plan to actually take Providence? What the hell is going on?
It's mostly good fights. I mean, PL aren't the biggest of alliances. We can't really go toe to toe with the the CFCs or the Imperiums even. We can't even, to be fair, take in drone Russians or stuff like that. So we've got to pick smaller fights, and Provi is the smallest coalition, but it was still 12k members when we started this. A few have left or quit, but there's still 12k.
Wait a second, did you just pitch PL as the underdog?
Well, numbers wise, definitely not in skill count, but numbers do count. For example, you could be more skillful than the average goon or whatever, and it doesn't matter if there's 100 of them and there's one of you. So the numbers definitely help.
Luckily, no one's more skillful than the average goon.
Yeah, I mean we're just spreading the rumors so far that we're in it for the faction stations that aren't out for 6 months or something.
So is it good fights, or I mean, is it you're
It's
saying it's never
fun.
happened before, and you're saying it's fun because the Providence guys think this is no big deal, and then you just said that it's actually just good fights. So if it's good fights, it's no big deal, but they think it's not a big deal and they're wrong. So what is it?
The fights are good when tests show up and when they actually decide to fight. On their own, they don't normally do that too often. They do blue ball a lot, which is what you do when you're going to get stomped, I suppose. So yeah, we're making a lot of progress, right? And they just can't seem to wrap their head around that progress because all their updates are we're winning.
Gotcha. Asher, can you ask a question about this? I actually just got Jay sent me nameplates for both of our guests, so I'm gonna work on getting those in here. And Asher, you can take over the interrogation.
Yeah. Okay, Ragnar. In 6 months, your best guess. Where is PL deployed to? Are they in Pravi or are they somewhere else?
The Dream. I know we've reset Horde and we're in Germany. Who knows?
I wanted a serious guess, not the dream.
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. There's so many places. There's so few places to go that it's a lot of effort to even think of a place that you could go. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you can't fight DRF, right? So that's out. You could fight Test, but probably you wouldn't want to get too close to them. You want to make them travel a little bit. You can't fight Horde, can't fight Darkness. You could, I mean, you could fight us, but you wouldn't want to just as PL. So yeah, your options. It's like some low sec stuff. Pravi, Try if they still had space. Actually, no, your Blue to Try are sort of friendly with Try. I think. I guess we can talk about that later. So yeah, I don't know where you could other than Providence. That's
Yeah.
the problem with these. Everyone's got friends and friends of friends and friends of friends of friends. It starts getting very complicated.
Well, it doesn't help that we're hamstrung at the moment because we've decided to do everything without the super umbrella, so to speak. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you guys had your supers, that'd be a different story. But then you wouldn't be able to defend your home territory. It's not like you've decided that so much as CCP has decided for you.
I mean, we decided though. To be fair, we could have just went, screw renters or just let the region burn, so to speak. But yeah, it's
What's that like? I
definitely.
mean, I want to shift over here to talk about Triumvirate in a bit, but I've got one more question for you, Ragnar, which is, you were seen as the leader of the culture for a long period of time, right? We didn't even know that there was this like Harvey Skywalker or something or other person who was officially the leader of the culture.
Yeah.
Everybody just thought it was you, or at least certainly within Goonswarm's like diplomatic corps, like we literally thought that you were the alliance leader. And now you're in PL and you're using we. What's that been like? I mean, I asked Killaby this about what it was like going from PL to NC Dot. What can you tell us about the culture of PL from your perspective of coming from from the culture?
Well, our integration has actually went a lot smoother than I expected. I thought there'd be all sorts of teething problems, changing, of cultures, no pun intended. But it was actually not that bad.
Have you seen much
So
in the way
yeah,
of difference betwing the organizations? Like when you're saying
no, not really.
it wasn't bad, so you say that your
There's
culture was basically like a little, was the culture's culture just like a little PL, or did, because the culture originally of course came from primarily from Black Legion, or has PL's culture shifted to be like very similar to Black Legion, so it just wasn't a big deal for you guys to bring it all together?
I know there was definitely a culture change. It's more to do with if I wanted something done in TC, me or one of my boys around me would have to get it done. But if something needs to be done in PL, obviously they've got the people around to actually do it. So it's not everything on you, and there's some smart people and they're doing some good work. So it's definitely different, but welcoming. That's what it's been for sure.
Okay. I'm getting rave reviews here from Jay and Asher about me eating Kung Pao chicken on live stream. Maybe I shouldn't do that. I don't know if people can like hear me eating or if that just gets too strange for live TV. Um,
Don't worry. When Ragnar came on my podcast last time, he had like a whole dinner and was talking to the waiter and giving a thumbs up while on live on the podcast.
that's fantastic. That's exactly what
Life must go on.
Yeah.
I'm eating Kung Pao chicken. That's yes, my hologram is showing. For some reason, there's a spot on my head that's very shiny today from the chroma key. I don't know. I changed up my office, so everything is a little bit different here. Um, so I want to talk. We're bouncing around topics a lot because I just started interrogating Ragnar because the whole Pravi PL thing, something about that just sort of sounds weird to me. But we do have actual news and an actual top story and a plan for the Metashow this week. So I want to get into that, and I want to bring in Ziggs for some of these discussions because we are going to be talking. The main topics for the show today, we're going to be talking about Horde abandoning Fate and Pureblind. We're going to be talking about Triumvirate moving to Curse for revenge on the DRF. We're going to be talking about the PL and Providence shit show because we have Ragnar here and why not? And we'll also be going over what's happening with Citadels 2.0. But the top story is no question the biggest shift in galactic geography in a while is Horde and thus PanFam abandoning Fate and Pureblind, which puts the Northwest in play. So we are going to do our fun little top story thing here, and we'll be right back after the music plays. The system works. Okay, we actually managed to get that to function without any issue. So we have Horde up and announces that they're going to be moving to Geminate, of all places, leaving Fate and Pureblind in play. And this also means it's a good thing we've got somebody from PL here, because this means maybe you can offer some perspectives of how much you're going to be defending Sword Dragon in the future.
Not too much, I imagine.
So, Asher, why don't you describe for everybody what's actually happened here with this, instead of me just turfing Blorfs?
The Horde movement?
Yep.
All right, so what happened was, I think we can mostly credit this to Try. You had you had Triumvirate putting pressure on GOTG in a way that they hadn't really been pressured for a long time. And GOTG was just like, don't worry, we're going to smash them, no problem, easy peasy. And then after like 3 or 4 months, they're like, wait, this is actually going a lot worse than we expected, especially against such a relatively small group. So then they started calling in allies. They paid Horde to deploy and do Intosis work against Triumvirate, which was basically like just Horde stealing money from DRF because they really didn't do anything after like one day. It was like put an alpha or a jump clone down there and go do Intosis, and then like no one really did that, so it didn't really work too much against Tri. So GTG was like, sorry, not GTG, DRF, the drone Russians were starting to feel the heat and feel like, this could get out of control pretty quickly. So very quickly they paid Sword Dragon to stop attacking them. And then they started consolidating, moving further down south. Basically, they gave up their home territory, and then they gave Horde a bunch of money, territory, and citadels to move into Geminate so that they would be allies with them. Basically, I think what happened was you saw this immense amount of income that we all talk about. Where does it go? What do the Russians do with it? Being threatened by a small group, and they're like, we need to, I think wisely, they said, we need to get this under control before it snowballs, before people sense a real weakness in us. So they paid a lot of money and bought themselves a bunch of new allies. And effectively, you've seen this with the Tri announcing that they're leaving. The end of the attack in a serious way. I know Tri is going to do, if you've been around Eve long enough, you've seen a Wolfpack's post, and that was a Wolfpack's post. So it's the end of Tri's attack in a serious way, and DRF has bought themselves a ton of allies, including Horde.
That is an interesting point. One of the things I saw here, and I guess this is something that Ziggs has been fighting against, was how small the DRF super capital fleet was. Ziggs, can you give us some of your perspective on how that war went down, and if you think that Asher's theory about the Horde move being related to your fight has any merit?
So what's kind of interesting, Lisa, is we didn't really see much of DRF super capitals come to bear until sort of like more recently, like the end of the Keepstar siege, when they put supers on their fort. And just the other day when we had a fight in YBW, they had supers on grid. But they haven't really flexed them much, if they have them, if that makes any sense. As per with Horde, they only took like one constellation away while we were 2 regions away, and that happened because of DRF's money. They paid pretty much everybody off that they could who would come down and press F1 at anything we owned.
That makes sense, and credit to the DRF on this, because if we in the Imperium had overreacted in the way that the DRF did when people first started going after the Northwest at the start of the Casino War, we could have potentially prevented things from snowballing. I think Asher's point is correct that these guys looked at The DRF knew that they had weak flanks and that they didn't have the forces to support this except for mercenaries. They bought as many mercenaries as they could right at the outset such that they could convince people that it just wasn't worth attacking the DRF. And now moving Horde right next door to them sort of shores up their border. At the very least, Gobbins got a bunch of supers for Horde Vanguard out of it. I mean, it seems like they didn't actually spend the ISK that they got on anything other than supers for a handful of people. But yeah, that is all of that is going to be a hot mess because, from what I understand, and is it public knowledge about the Sword Dragon leaking thing?
Pretty much at this point, I'd imagine it was like the pastebin on Reddit. And that kind of
Yeah. So moving an alliance is a huge pain in the ass. The bigger the alliance, the bigger of a pain in the ass it is, especially when you got keep stars. You want to try to unanchor your keep stars in a quiet way so you can uproot them and go. Because if you don't, then any random group of assholes can start reinforcing your keep stars, pausing the timer for 7 days, which is exactly what the initiative just did a couple days ago to the 9 Tech 4 Keep Star. It is in reinforced, or it was reinforced again because they were trying to unanchor it. Well, apparently Sword Dragon spilled the beans to let everybody know about the fact that Horde was going to move. Gobbins had wanted to keep that a secret, but there's never really been a organization or a plan that Sword Dragon didn't screw up. I don't know if that's the kind of thing that he intended to do because he just wanted to fuck with Horde on their way out or what, but the entire northwestern sort of balance of power has always been this really uneasy group of blue trolls who don't seem to particularly like each other. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm going to throw this over to Ragnar Bile. What do you think about the situation in the Northwest and how things are going to change with Horde's move?
I'd say that they do like each other. I mean, you don't work with each other that long, even if it's just shared interest, right? You'd go somewhere else. But I think I imagine Guardians of the Galaxy are going to get Pure Blind and Fade. Personally, if I was them, I'd move forward to Pure Blind, Fade, and hold there, and then I just rent out the regions you've just left and just get an extra rental region in the case. But I mean, unless it's not like you can do a serious attempt to attack and kill infrastructure, but even probably the largest most powerful coalition in the game, you're not gonna take the space, so their position is still pretty safe. I don't think the only thing it's going to change is where the elite PvPers go to Rome to get their dank frags for their YouTube videos. I think that's about the only thing
the only thing that's going to change. I mean, so you don't think that PL and NC. No longer being responsible for the defense of the Northwest because they would be the people propping up Pandemic Horde. You don't think that makes any difference?
No, not really, because the propping up, so to speak, is not. It's not so much that they're propped up. I mean, Horde can be, an excellent thing to have on field, when they bring 750 Scorpions. But then again, it can also be a terrible thing because they bring like 100 dudes to get bombed or something, So it's. I don't think it would change the dynamic of the North at all. I mean, they're still going to be friendly. Goblins are still going to answer the call if if Sorts ever get hit. I imagine Goblins is going to appear, riding the 750 Scorpions to victory or something. So.
Right, but that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Any serious attack on the North, what would actually be underpinning the defense of it would be NC. And PL, who would be showing up to defend Pandemic Horde. Now, if Pandemic Horde isn't there, and then it's just Sword Dragon and Blades of Grass and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Not Blades of Grass.
Yeah, not Blades of Grass.
Not them anymore because he kicked them out in order to be able to make some more rental space. But is this a hill you want to die on? Are you seriously saying that Pandemic Horde moves out of the way, PL and NC. Are unlikely to go defend Darkness? Or is that what you're saying? Are you saying that PL and NC. Are going to defend Darkness?
Yeah, but I mean, we defend Horde of Blue, but it's not like we're more friendly with Horde than we are with the other entities in the North.
Pandemic Legion is not more friendly with Pandemic Horde than with other regions, other alliances.
No, not really.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah, that's accurate.
No. You've got your blue standing and stuff, but that doesn't reflect the the attitude towards other alliances. So I'd imagine we'd turn up to defend like a GOTG Keepstar or something. So
Okay. I mean, I'm going to put this over to Ziggs then. So from a certain perspective, the Northwest, the defense of the Northwest has been the PL and NC Dot super capital fleet. PL and NC Dot, of course, has tribute. PL has recently claimed that they've been having their supers back in MTO, and Elise has said that you should just, run locators on them. Um, you know, is Triumvirate, I know that Triumvirate is going to curse, is Triumvirate now in a place where they're going to be looking around for space somewhere after the Curse Vengeance deployment?
Well, again, so I'm not command team, so I don't know everything, like the entire grand scheme plan. But as far as I know, we're sort of going at a perch is the best way to put it. We could go and hit DRF like as much as we want to now. We don't have Sov tying us down. We don't have to fight the full fleets of claws and fipples anymore. It's we're using it as a perch for both content. We've been fighting for 8 months now. We can do what we want with what we're at now.
You know what's interesting? I thought I found the post from Warren. It was good to post about you guys. What you were doing, what your plans were. But this may be reflective of the attitude that Chai has. But not a single thing was mentioned about making money. Like, how are the pilots going to provide for themselves? I know it's turning your nose up at ISK making is pretty much par for the course, but people have to pay for ships and have to pay for Plex and all this other stuff. So what's the plan there in the future?
We do have various places we can go. Like, we have a bunch of our blues who have been great to us, like Frat, Skill, those guys. They have space that we could possibly go to. It's just things in the works,
Okay. So you have a couch to crash on.
Yeah.
All right.
That makes sense. Okay. Well, I'm going to be curious to see how this goes down. I mean, I would, of course, like to see the North on fire, so I'm biased. I might as well declare my bias for all. But we're in a sort of an odd position I'd say, with even general, where there's not much reason to take space that you don't intend to hold, right? Like, there's no, if you have Delve, there's no point to take Declan unless you're going to move back to Declan. And why would you do that? Because the region sucks compared to Delve. But if we had wanted to assault the North, it would be kind of hard for us to do that because of all these assets which are now in flux.
Well, if you're Darkness or you're Sword Dragon, you want to stay as close to under like NC and PL as you can, because they have the super cap umbrella that keeps you safe. It's like those little fishes that swim around a shark for protection.
Right, the Remoras.
Yeah. If we have no plans obviously, but say we wanted to go up and blow up a GOTG Keepstar or whatever, we wanted to assault them in a serious manner. If NC Dot and PL are next door, they're going to show up just because they can shoot goons, right? So his best protection is to just be as near to them as possible.
It's a proximity thing.
Yeah, that's true enough as well, right? Obviously, there's you can't deny the fun of just long range tightening, goon max or something. You don't have to like the person you're defending. It's just what else are you going to do that day type thing,
Right.
That is a really good point.
1 or 2 regions away, it's worth it. But so then Sort has to hope that they stay in Tribute and Tenal and in those areas. It does bring up an interesting point that you have sort of Horde moving out, and they can now guard more rental space between Tribute and Geminate. So they make a front buffer for that side, and then Darkness is a buffer for the other side, and then PLNC control all the way to the top. That opens up sort of an unbroken swath of rental area where you can make more income out of.
This is definitely, there is something we haven't pointed out yet on the show is this is a really good move for Horde, right? Like, there is Geminate might be sort of centrally located in the galaxy, which puts it sort of like in a weird interstitial region, but it's a hell of a lot better than Fade and Pureblind, which are just garbage tier space. And Geminate is a lot more defensible in general, so Horde has a lot more opportunities here, and I think that they will be moving onward and upward. So that's going to be curious, is if they are in a central place and we're not attacking them, like assuming that Goonswarm doesn't send Sigs squads to attack Horde or something like that, if we continue to use the Northwest as a PvP content farm, I guess I'd throw this open to everybody, and maybe it'll be a Tri thing. Maybe they'll go continue to like fight against Tri out of Curse. Where does Horde go for fights from their new home in Geminate?
That's what they said in the post. They said that tries and curses close by, relatively gate-wise.
Is it
from
though?
Geminate. I don't know. I thought it was a weird claim, but I didn't look.
Yeah, I haven't looked, so I might be talking shit here, but
It seems like Geminate and Curse are far away.
Yeah, I think that's pretty far, because don't you have to go through like cache even to get to? I don't know. It's a long way, but yeah, I think if I was Try, I'd be looking at deploying to FDZ and just go on a mad one as DRF and everyone evacs the region. Just RF Citadel, stop the evac, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't think that looking at Dotline here, like just Geminate and Curse, I've never gone like, oh wow, like that's right next door. I mean, let me make sure I'm not talking out of my ass.
I'm looking it up right now. I'll tell you. I
lived in Geminate for 3 years. Yeah, no, I don't think I ever roamed to Curse. So.
I put an FDZ to the center of Curse, which is 8G, at least in Dotland. That's 31 jumps. I don't think that's close.
Okay, yeah, that's just totally out of it there.
Yeah, so even
you were saying,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that doesn't make any sense. So they're closer to Jita, or they're just as close to Jita, so they can continue to defend their perimeter citadel. But if they're blue to the DRF and they're living next to the DRF, and they're blue to PL and NC Dot, where they're living next to in like the tribute zone, then what are you gonna do?
Mittens, I got a question for you. This is a circle of life thing. Isn't Geminate the area that we let DRF crash on or X-Death crash on when NC Dot evicted them?
Oh, I'm trying to remember.
A long time ago. I think that they lived in Geminate because we're like, yeah, you can crash on our, it was essentially our couch. We gave half of Geminate to them.
That's right.
Years ago they got evicted.
Yeah, like 2013.
Yeah, during the Solo War. Region. Yeah.
And we evicted Solar. Brick Squad evicted Solar with other people and stuff. So.
You were in Brick Squad?
Yeah, I loved it, mate.
Wow.
I was a nobody in Brick Squad though, but yeah, it's good times.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think it's true. I think that is a circle of life kind of thing about how Death got a couch there when the first like MacTep versus Death, like Solar versus Legion of Death Civil War happened, and Death got kicked out of the Northwest and then the Northeast. And then yeah, I guess they did crash in Geminate, and Geminate was Legion of Death territory for a while as they rebuilt. That's a good catch there, Asher. I had forgotten about that completely. I want to segue here actually onto one of our other topics because this sort of relates to this. All of Eve now is in this place where we are killing citadels. We have got the Citadel 2.0 patch that's happened, and as of today, around 1800, we started to see some of the first citadels dying en masse. And I kind of wanted to see from a frontline perspective what everybody thinks about the Citadel 2.0 patch and whether you think it's going to change much in the game. I'm going to start with Ziggs on this one because you guys are now basing out of Curse. You're probably going to be using Citadels to run your wolf pack. So what do you think about it?
I think it's fantastic. Like, I think it's just today now that all the Citadels are currently coming out. Like, Z-Kill's getting absolutely lit up with Citadel kills, which is amazing, really. Like, before the changes, and I think this is a pretty, like, widely agreed on point, that Citadels prefer defenders, right? The defenders got a huge advantage how it would take all this time to kill one. And that's still kind of the case, but it's a lot easier to get rid of them now with low power states.
Gotcha. Ragnar, what's it like in Providence? Are you seeing lots of Citadels? Is PL going on a Citadel killing spree?
Oh, yes. But we're also a bit of victims. I mean, just my corp alone, we lost 2 Fortizars and like Iridia and 1 in Immensia or something, today, because they were like low power Citadels, in the middle of nowhere. So it swings and roundabouts. I like it because it stops people having like their Citadel change like halfway across the map, But yeah, no, the definitely the lower power Citadel thing it's a dream because it's what 10 minutes to RF that Rataru that's just been chilling on the gate for 6 months or something. So yeah, no, it's definitely worth it. I do like the patch.
Demolition Day, Caleb says here in chat. That's a pretty good analogy. Asher, what do you think about this?
I they almost did it really well. They left that really long range web on there, and if they'd just gotten rid of that and made it shorter range, it would have been a really overall a good match. They did alter the scrambler, which is important, but as long as you have the web there, you still can control any kind of mobile fleet. So it could have been better, but I think overall it's a step in the right direction. Part of the problem was like you want to go, say you're a guy, you're an FC, and you want to go out and do something fun for your friends, for the people who fly with you, but oh, they haven't timed any vulnerability times to this particular time. I can't do anything. Like it's an awful experience. Now you can say, hey, let's go ref their Citadel because they can't stop. Well, they can try and stop us, but it's vulnerable now, and that's a really good thing because it encourages people to be out in space in fleets.
Okay, that's reasonable. I wonder, like, essentially, I guess the question that I'm groping for is I was going to say I wonder how much of a just carnage there's going to be when we see the first time Citadels come out, because right now we're just seeing the ones that have the ones that weren't fueled in any way, and so this is just the first opportunity to kill those. One of the things that we've seen with past patches is CCP will come out with a feature and everybody gets excited about it, and they run around and do all the things, and then after that stuff sort of levels off. So do you think we're going to see just a consistent amount of Citadel burning? Is this just going to be a fire that consumes the galaxy, or do you think people are going to go, you know what, shooting random Citadels is actually kind of lame, screw this?
Well, it's not a great system now, but we were getting punched in the junk every day by the old system. Now we're just getting punched in the stomach. So
It's a little better, but not a lot better.
I saw this really interesting video about like the power of like comparative characters and how people can like Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones because like Joffrey and Cersei are so much worse, even though objectively Jaime Lannister's a terrible person. And so CCP of Jaime Lannister, the Citadel update, it's still pretty bad, but it's better than what happened before.
That's right. I suppose everything is relative in that. That's pretty ridiculous. I hadn't thought about it that way before. Huh. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and I want to ask. Basically, I want to shift to talking about the triumvirate deployment and how that is going to work since we have a tri-guest. We even have an article on INN about this, about the triumvirate, the Wolfpack's post. And essentially, this is potentially a shitty question, and I don't want to put this in a way that is too over the top. But the challenge whenever any alliance loses a war, regardless of how well they fought, and Triumvirate fought like lions, I don't think there's any debate about that. When you make a Wolfpack's post and you say, we're going to get revenge and we're going to do stuff, historically these things never really amount to much. So the question I have for Ziggs is, what are you guys going to do against the DRF from Curse that is going to make an impact on them, to make it different from just like random wolf packs? What's the revenge campaign going to look like?
Well, again, as someone who's not on a command team, we can use these Wolfacks, like with this new patch, to just harass the DF really as much as we want to. Like, there's no saw anchoring us anymore. They can't put out 250 of small ships, and we have to go deal with that to defend any XYZ space. It's just not a thing for us anymore. Okay. So it's great for general content. Like, again, we've been fighting this for like 8 months. It's a good way for us to try something a little bit different and attack them from a different venue.
Why? I mean, ultimately speaking, Triumvirate just decided, if I remember correctly, you decided to just sort of like reset people and go after FCON. And by the way, fuck FCON and thank you for killing them, right? I think that everyone in the galaxy should be able to get together and agree, fuck FCON and thank you, Triumvirate, for doing that. But is there any real animus? Like when you guys say fighting the DRF, and you've mostly been fighting their mercenaries, right? Like you're saying you've been fighting Horde, you've been fighting Test, you've been fighting all these guys that they threw at you. who like do your members get angry at? Or do they even get angry? Are they like, I want to fight the DRF, and does that mean being mad at Legion of Death? Is it being mad at the mercenaries? Like, who's the bad guy that you shake your fist at in this?
I'd say it's primarily DRF. It's coming from their wallet. They're just paying people off to do their dirty work for them. But in the day, it's really it's them, you know.
Well, they seem like, as Noisy Gamer is pointing out in chat, is that they seem like they're really vulnerable to area denial attacks. Like, are you guys going to be focusing on like potentially spreading out and doing a lot of cloaky camping in order to try to deny their renters and their ratters from doing stuff, or
But that was the idea with the wolf packs, is that we could have sort of like what other various alliance are doing, but we're going to do it, you know, our own little way. Is have multiple stagings where we can have different groups hit different areas, like as much as we want to, really.
Okay, so is this going to be like, do you expect there to be much Fozzie Sov involved, or are you going to just sort of, not like, did you guys do Sov harassment against the DRF in the first place, or was it always more about single point fights?
A little bit of both. We hit Sov where we could, but you know, time zone tanking's a bitch.
Yeah, that is really one of the situations that you guys are up to. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to say about that conflict? Because before I shift topics.
I don't think anyone was upset that we've fought the way we've done on anybody's side. It was a great fight for everyone, really.
I have to say, you guys were really impressive, and we keep having guests on the Metashow from Triumvirate, which is interesting because we have basically no diplomatic contact with Triumvirate from like a Goonstorm perspective. You guys have just always been on the other side of the galaxy and fighting the guys that we don't like at any given time. And I don't think that we would make great roommates because we'd probably end up hating each other. But it's always been sort of like cheering from afar, like go get them, and sending the odd third party fleet to try to help out where we can. But I think most alliances would have broken a long time ago trying to fight with the odds that you guys have been fighting on. So I don't want to say much respect because that's pubby as fuck, but
Yeah, I get it.
If I was that way. But yeah, Asher, before we move on to talk about the Providence thing, Asher, do you want to have any commentary about the Triumvirate conflict?
There's not a ton more to be said than we've said in the past few weeks, but I think in general, they did a really good job outnumbered. There is something. I'm trying to think of how to put this because I don't want to sound like I'm taking anything away from them. But there is something to be said about being smaller. It allows you to be more agile. Like if you took Triumvirate now and you added 30,000 people, they wouldn't be. And what do they have now? 2,000 people. They wouldn't be 15 times better. So, and this is just an observation in general. It's not a knock on Tri, because when I'm in a smaller group, like when I'm in Reavers, we do a lot better ISK wise and objective wise per person than if we took a whole alliance fleet. And there's a scaling issue in Eve that I don't think is conquerable. You're just always going to have more problems with more people. So I'm interested to see what Tri does, and I think that if they avoid the scourge of expanding too much, they'll be able to do it well. I think probably the scarier part for them is going to be when their members start to run out of money. That's when people start having their come to Jesus moment and say, "Hey, I like this, but I have to flex my account. I need to buy new ships, so I'm going elsewhere." So that's going to be can they provide that for their members? And I get the feeling that people in the Triumvirate leadership kind of sneers at that. And so that's going to be their challenge, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is actually that is a very interesting point because one of the things about Tri, this iteration of Tri, is like it was Innsmother, I believe. Is that correct? You guys had Innsmother for quite a while.
Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah, and so previous iterations of Tri had been much more nomadic or NPC space based, and one of the things that is challenging about shifting to Sov space is like once you get Sov and people basically get a chance to really get that easy ISK and plex their accounts and then start scaling up. It's hard to change your lifestyle back to being a nomad who lives out of his rucksack and doesn't need anything and lives off the land when you're used to tootling around in a Ferrari and having servants waiting on you hand and foot. Lifestyle wise. So that's going to be curious. But on the other hand, Tri has made a lot of friends out of this recent series of fights. So like Ziggs was saying earlier, it's entirely possible that they'll be able to make a deal with Fraternity or some other space holding entity to allow their people to get their fix while still fighting the good fight.
Yeah, they need a plan.
yeah.
If they have a plan, they'll probably do well.
Yeah, that is really the thing about Eve. I do think that Asher's point in general is, we know this in the Imperium because we're very inefficient. Is sledgehammers are awesome, but sledgehammers are not efficient, right? Sledgehammer
They
versus
often
scalpel.
bang into the wrong thing.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like you're smashing things around. There's a lot of wasted energy. The force is terrific, but it's not like pointing a railgun or using a scalpel to do just the precise kind of cut. Like the kind of stuff that people like Try can do, and people like the Initiative or Snuffed Out can do, and what our SIGs and squads do all the time, like Reavers, which doesn't exist, does this. The kind of small scale coordination just doesn't scale up past Dunbar's number. You can't be like, okay, well, 5,000 people, please don't shoot the pod, right? Like we just don't even give commands in big fights like don't shoot the pod, because we know that there's just too many people and you can't have that much discipline. So yeah, I want to shift things over here so we're going to do a couple different things, guys. We haven't spent too much time whoring about the PL and Probby thing. We've got the last 15 minutes of the show, and we've started doing this as of a couple weeks ago. We put the channel into subscribers only mode, and we start doing Q&As. So I want to start letting Ragnar troll me for the last 15 minutes, but we're going to be talking about this and also taking Q&As from subscribers. So let me put.
If you want to answer a question of a specific person, just direct it to that person.
Yeah, so you can be just type in the chat. You can be like, so for Ragnar this, and then we'll ask them that. So go nuts, guys. The channel is now in subs only mode. We are looking also to add different emotes to the channel. I have a list up here on my whiteboard behind me, which is actually covered up by. Oh, there it is. We're looking to get better emotes for the channel, so things like Shoban and Toot and Sun and V and Commissar and Smith, some of the classic emotes that we like, that we know and love in daily life and Jabber. We're looking to add those into our thing.
Mittens, when you have people over at your house, do they ever see your Eve whiteboard, and do you have to awkwardly explain what it is?
There's so many whiteboards in this house now, it's nuts. Like it's basically like living in a mad scientist laboratory.
I'm such an undercover nerd. I can't imagine that scenario where that would be.
Well, my trick is, and that's a really good question, is that, if you looked at my whiteboards, you just wonder what the fuck is going on. But my handwriting is lawyer handwriting. It is so illegible that people can't tell it's about something nerdy. They can't even really tell that they're words. It's just fucking hieroglyphics.
Is that like doctor handwriting? Is the
it
similar?
Is, basically, okay. Yeah. It's just like, I basically cannot communicate. I never have to learn code. Nobody can read my legal pads. It's just like, here's my notes, and I'm the only person that can actually read that.
Yeah, whenever someone asks me why I have so many monitors, I'm awkwardly like, oh, it's pornography. Just,
Exactly.
Something less embarrassing than Eve.
So we've got a question here from Nanak Helsinki, which is for Ragnar Bile, which is, when is PL going to kick Bat Country?
You don't need to kick an active corpse.
Damn.
Wow, that's harsh but fair.
I mean, Goonwaffle proves that fact, right?
Goonwaffle does prove that. That is absolutely true. Rum Waffle wants us to add a 3-year subscription to your badge. We should do that. The funny thing is that we're actually getting to a point where some people have been subbed for more than 3 years. Will Asher get promoted or demoted for his angling for all of the bots in Delve? That's right. I'm looking forward to another Reddit hate mob, which was the feature of last week. Asher talked about bots briefly on the Fireside Chat today, and we know from our enemies in Slice that is the most exciting thing ever. So I haven't actually checked our Eve to see whether we have a angry mob going after Asher. I'm going to be disappointed if there isn't one. I'm looking right now. Not seeing it yet.
There's no pictures of me on the internet with a wizard hat, so I don't get the same kind of hate that you do.
Yeah, it's true. Like you really
wizards.
Isn't PL dead? So that is kind of a question. Ragnar, what do you think the deal with the Providence deployment is? Like, as Asher was saying earlier, there's only so many different places that you guys can go, and if it isn't about taking the stations, because that's not going to be for a long time, you guys are doing a lot of Sov work. What's the appeal there? Is it just the bleeding and the screaming? Is it are they actually putting out good fights? Like, tell us about that side of the aisle.
So obviously we're quite a new co-op to PL. We joined a month and a half ago or something. I'm not quite sure the actual timings. It was January sometime, so maybe a month ago or something. And as a corp, we love Entosis. We love pretty much everything about it, except when you get to like 600 dudes and there's just a fuzzy claw fleet on each node. But up until that point, we're pretty good at it. We just enjoy it. They're forced to come out in ships or lose an iHub or a station, and probably still use their stations. They're like the Russians. They haven't realised that Fortizars are a thing. So you get to lock people out their stations. They mail you to get their stuff back.
Listen, when I was in high school, I wasn't a very good person, and there was this very mentally slow boy on the playground, and I would trip him all the time. It was so funny because he just didn't understand and could not figure out how not to let me trip him. I was just so much stronger than he was.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Pretty much that. That's actually what's happening probably right now.
Yeah, that's that essentially seems to be
They don't
They
don't
still use
realise
stations?
that yeah, they do. They're just like Russians and stuff. They just don't understand why they wouldn't. So they don't realise that they can form. We've seen it, 200-man barracks fleets, and sure we can just drop ropes on them or something, but they're also really behind in the meta. They don't have their own super fleet for whatever reason. So they're quite. I mean, we have more supers in Provi than they do, and our supers are up north still, right? So that just goes to show you like what their super fleet is and how far behind the actual meta they are. So they kind of asked for this, right? It's a region ripe for the taking, so to speak. So we're taking it.
Because it's there, right? Why did you climb Everest? Because it's there.
Exactly. I mean, what else could we be doing right now? Sure, us and NC, we could be ganging up against Tappy, but they're pretty girthy, to be fair. So maybe not get involved in a war against Test would be a good idea. But no, I like.
Dude, everyone would like to see it. I mean, you have to move your supers, but everyone would like to see that war. That'd be a fun war, or at least set a goal. Like, I know you don't control this, but like, it'd be cool if PL just said, "Hey, we're gonna do this to Test." Like, we were like, "Oh, we're gonna take a swing at this Keepstar," and like the fight actually sucked, but at least we tried to do something and got everyone active and involved and give them a goal. You should guys do something like that.
Maybe we'll work with Troy or something. I mean, they're going to be in Curse, right? Who knows?
Hey, there you go. See that?
I mean, Test are like the only DRF or DRF allied people in range that they can mess with from Curse, right? So,
and they'll use time zones. Or can't even show up to help them anyway.
I could help out. Like, if you guys did take a swing at them, I could write a really long Reddit post about how everyone involved in that war sucks, and then sit on my hands.
That's where the wars are won, right?
Exactly.
That wouldn't even get on the first page. It would be so downvoted. But yeah, no, you could definitely Troy could get involved. Maybe Troy could come at us because we did take that 300 bill not to show up to the Keepstar fight. So there's enemies everywhere.
300 bill.
300 bill.
I want a Moloch or a Komodo. Can someone pay me not to show up to a fight?
Killer B has a Komodo for sale. He said so on the stream. So there's that.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like the worst ship in the game. So probably about 40 billion.
We have a question in chat here, which is basically, how is it that Providence doesn't have a super fleet? Is it because they believe, like, do you guys think that Providence thinks that because they're role players or they're just Provi that nobody's ever going to bother attacking them? Is it because anybody that has the gumption to actually get a super gets recruited into an alliance that actually uses them? Like, how, they've essentially...
I can introduce some hearsay to this court proceeding.
Go for it.
It was an excited utterance from Juntin, I believe, who said that basically a lot of people in Provi don't make a lot of money, and the people who do, if they want to use their super, they GTFO somewhere else where they can, like, because Providence just has never used them. So if you have a super and you want to use it, Providence is not the place for you. So they have a hard time retaining them.
That's partly true, but TC basically never used supers for anything other than dropping on random gangs roaming through our space. And we had a large super fleet, we had. So there's no, that's not an excuse. It's basically because they don't push their members to get anything really. They every other alliance is train dreadouts, train this, train for Aeons.
You guys lived in Fountains, though. Like, that's a really wealthy region with a lot of valuable space.
It was wealthy for our corps because we didn't really tax the moons. It was like 15% on the distro. So it was wealthy for our corps. But as an alliance, all we could say was, run the havens. And they've got havens, they're Sancho havens, just load Scorch and go to town. They can still make all the money they need to. They're just not good at it, I imagine.
Do you think that it's because, last time I looked at Providence, and it's been a bit because it just doesn't really matter on any level whatsoever, but I'm going to take a look at it right now. Last time I looked at the style map of Provi, yep, that's basically the same thing since the last time. Well, I mean, we used it as sort of like the Bikini Atoll. Like when Fozzie first came out, we literally used Provi as a test bed to just try some theories of warfare about Fozzie. That's when we first encountered Fozzie. It's
mention
balkanized.
that all the time.
Do they?
Yeah, they see that as one of the great invasions they repelled, despite the fact it was literally just you going there to kill some iHubs to see what was happening. They're like, we repelled the Goon Menace. That
not only that, PL came down to oppose us along with NC Dot and other people. It wasn't like they did it. It was like. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's totally true. Like we most of the time when we were fighting in Providence, I actually logged in for that, and I remember seeing on the field it was primarily fighting against NC Dot and PL, and there were Provi fleets there too, but it was basically like same shit, different part of the galaxy.
Everyone was just trying to get a feel for how those systems would work. Like it was just your space is now the playground for
everybody else. There's a colonialism analogy here, but the thing about Provi is that they're balkanized.
Wait,
right?
Is Provi Afghanistan? They don't make anything of value except some illegal drugs, and there's been lots of wars fought there.
So I don't know if this is true, but apparently, Providence made the most T2 modules in the game or something. We were being told, but the way they work is all their little alliances have their own constellations and. Obviously, it's not hard to pick them apart. If we RF Severance stuff or ULI Federation stuff, CVA can't really help except to fly around. And then people get, disgruntled that they're always helping. And if it's a ULI Federation FC, doing the entire fleet, then they'll defend the ULI stuff and leave the Severance stuff out to dry, which you can kind of understand from his perspective. But yeah, no, the groups really don't like each other. They've all got different evac points. They've all got different levels of evacuation going on at the moment. Like some are evacing everything, some are just evacing non-combat ships. But the moment you say evac anything, right, it's full
run
round.
For the hills. Yeah. Actually, Corvinax here. Let me just get this out here. So Corvinax in chat recently lived in Provi, and one of the things that I forgot about are like, what's wrong with these guys? They're balkanized or whatever. But Corvinax is pointing out that there's lots of roaming gangs with neutrals and spies, but they're fucking NRDS. Like, how can you? So what Corvinax's point is, like, how can you actually build up any sort of real value or make any money when you're living in an NRDS hellhole where they've got like their blacklist or whatever their Provi bullshit is, and anybody can go through on a neutral. Like, you can't actually rely on safety if you're, if it's NRDS.
You say that though, but like, obviously we're in the region now. No one's ratting in carriers with neutrals and local or passing through. They get safe. They treat a neutral just like everyone else does, even though it's not I don't shoot, because some line members they link us in local and they're like Ragnar Ball red and stuff like that, to signify we're a baddie. But most of them realize that the neutral is going to kill them, and it doesn't have to kill them.
You have a policy
of
inviting neutrals into your space.
That's on the Providence League. I don't know who it is. I think it's 2 or 3 guys. I don't know their names.
They're just fucking stuck on this NRDS thing. It's literally like a religion. Like, we've tried to talk to Providence people on the Metashow before, like on a few times we've had I don't know if it was Gen 10, but we've had some other people as well, and we were like, so what the fuck is this NRDS thing? And they defend it to their dying breath as
well. It's like we talk about. Sorry, I'm sorry to step on you. We talk about how Delve is so much better than Declan, like just much superior space. But we would have never left Declan because we had so much inertia.
That's true.
And so they have all this tradition behind it. So, Mittens, do you remember when we did that thing? We actually split up each constellation for a different, were we CFC or Imperium? It doesn't matter. Different Imperium alliance.
Yep.
got one, and everyone hit their goal except one alliance. Do you remember which alliance totally bungled it and got nothing?
Was it SMA?
Nope. They got their goal. It was
League
CO2.
Federation.
It was
Oh,
CO2.
that's right.
They didn't get
Yeah.
a single system. They were the only ones who did nothing.
That's right. That was one of our experiments. We wanted to see whether we could divvy up a region using Fozzy-Sov and actually use the fact that we had a big coalition to like try to distribute our forces by having an alliance by alliance thing. And everybody got one or two constellations. And
CO2 kept saying they were the backbone of our PvP and stuff. So like, all right.
I forgot about them because I guess they were so fucking forgettable, and now they're dead because fuck CO2. Wow. Yeah, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of alliances at the moment. Like Silent Infinity was kicked. Resurrectium, I think they're a Russian alliance. They chose to leave Provi for Legacy, which I thought was amazing because it was the right call. But they'd always form up 40, 50 caracals or Farraks, and they were fighters, you know. But the rest of the alliances are. Yeah, there'll be a few more to go before the end of it. I'm pretty
One
sure.
of the things that Trainwreck says in chat is that he lived in Prague for his first 3 years, and he had no idea how much it sucked until he left. And so that's true. Like it's relatively close to Empire. If you start out like dipping your toe into the shallow end of the pool, and you're like, I've never been a nullsec before, but I'm gonna start out in Pravi. Just psychologically speaking, you're gonna end up with a whole bunch of ridiculously bad habits, and you're not going to know that like life is better outside of this smoking hell zone of a shit pile of a series of alliances.
Just join Karma Fleet or Pandemic Horde. Choose your brand of Kool-Aid and just drink it. Don't choose Providence because it's awful. It's basically torture. It should be banned.
But the kind of person who joins Providence is not listening to this, unfortunately. Like they're not connected to the meta of the game at all. They're just someone in high sec tells them about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. They are mushrooms. They are in the dark being fed shit. So they're not actually going to be able to well, I don't know. Jintan is always doing the rounds of every single talk show that he can get on. So maybe some probably people watch that. But I always get the feeling
I'll give you a billion isk if you can name two more people from Pravi. Any two people who are in Pravi block right now.
Core Blood Brothers joined us.
No.
So
one person, a billion is
besides Jintan.
Jintan is the face of Pravi at the moment.
No, but I mean, like, I always forget that, like, there was the leader of CVA for a while, and I forgot his name because he, like, they don't get out. I can't name anybody else.
There you go.
I can't. That's the easiest billion isk is that, like, I can't remember. Like they're so irrelevant. They're aggressively irrelevant. Like it's sort of it is like they're proud to be dumb. They're like proud to be bad, but actually proud to be bad, not like ironically like ha 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 we're bad at EVE Online kind of thing.
It's a tactic. You can't headshot them if you know who they are.
That is true. That is true. Excellent burn from
know.
Sigs there at the end.
I know.
All right. Well, we are coming towards the end of the show here, so if anybody has any last words, I think that we are about to be done. We're going to be having the Stellaris stream tomorrow. It'll be the last Stellaris stream before we have the big patch for Stellaris, so that'll be at 1 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. And as Sir Hendlick says, Butterdog, and that is frightening. I guess Butterdog was in CVA. Is he still in CVA?
I don't know him. I have not had the name.
That fucking guy. That is a blast from the past. Wow. Okay. So yeah, any last words from Ziggs? You gonna give your boys a shout out?
All my skirmish boys, you know who you are. I'm not gonna name people because I'm a potato. All the other command team and sky team boys know who we are. I think it's funny that the meme is that Try's been dead for however long, and yet here we are.
Started at the bottom, now you're here. Arachner?
I'd like to give a shout out to Charlotte Hazelink, the fastest rag in the West, and Chief Bigwig Dankel, who is the biggest of all the wigs in Pandemic Legion.
That is a wig, I guess. Asher?
I have no shoutouts, thank you.
No shoutouts. I have no shoutouts as well, except for all of you for supporting the stream and watching us, and we will be back next week. So I'm going to try to, I always screw this up every week. I like play the intro as an outro, and then I forget that I leave the stream up, and then there's just me at the end of the intro if you wait around going like,
updating the whiteboard.
On the camera. Yeah, exactly. Updating the whiteboard and just being around in a red shirt and hopefully not picking my nose. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. And we will see. Actually, I need to make sure. See, I would have the nameplates above the intro. This would have been hilarious. We'll catch you guys next week.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the Meta. The Meta controls everything. The Meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the Metashow.